I'm John Moody, and I live in Worcestershire. I've known about this technology now for over 3 years, and when it was first explained to me, I was very sceptical, very doubtful about the claims that were being made for it, because I'd just seen nothing like it before, and it just seemed too far-fetched to be true. So if you're feeling that way, please don't worry. We all go through it. I for whatever reason at the time, decided to investigate a bit further, and so I bought some of the products to try myself. I bought some insoles and some socks. And at the time, I'd got some stiffness in my right hip. I play golf, and it was impacting the way I could play golf. I'm right-handed, so when you play golf right-handedly, your right hip, everything moves through your right hip. And my hip wasn't working properly, and I wasn't enjoying my golf because I was playing very bad golf because of the effect this was having on me. Within 3 weeks of starting to wear this technology, that just cleared up one day. I just noticed it just during a round. I just suddenly felt much freer and easier. I was able to bend down and pick the ball up off the ground more easily. It just changed, just like flicking a switch. The thing that made the biggest impact on me was finding out that the technology was, that the inspiration for creating the technology was Jay Dhaliwal, the inventor. His mother was diagnosed with MS when he was a teenager, and this was the 1980s. Not much was known about MS, and less seemed to be known about how to help people with it. And he was very distressed about the fact that the white coats couldn't help his mother. So he determined that he would do something about this. It became his sort of life's purpose. He was able to start a business and sell it very quickly by the time he was 29, and that created enough income for him to spend time researching neurology. And over time, it took him 10 years. He created this technology. I went to see a friend of mine who has MS, and she'd had a fall a couple of years earlier, and it had made her very, very wobbly on her legs. It had really bashed her confidence around. She was, to the degree that she used a walking stick just to get from the kitchen to the front door, from the kitchen into the lounge and so on. Anywhere in the house she moved, she'd got a walking stick. So I went to see her, explained about this technology, and we did a couple of tests with her where she could feel a difference when she was standing on a pair of insoles compared with just standing on the floor on her own feet. Having done the test, we just carried on talking. She was still standing on these insoles, and 3 or 4 minutes later, this big grin appeared on her face, and she put her arms out like this and just started swinging around. At that point, I realised that there really is something very special about this technology, to see somebody have that change in just a short period of time. So that has led me now. Here I am now, over 3 years later, talking to people every day of my life about how this technology might make a difference for them. And one of those people that I spoke to many moons ago was Stuart. So Stuart, tell us your story.
Yeah, so picking up from there, it's about December 2019 when this product started to arrive in the UK. A chap called John Moody rang me and he said, Stuart, you're a golf mind coach. You're doing hypnosis and NLP and things for golfers, and hence some of the books behind you. I said, yes, we both know that, John. What is it? He said, I've got this new thing coming from Canada that's helping golfers to hit the ball further, straighter, with more power, with more accuracy. They're getting more stamina, more anger management control on the course, etc., etc. I said, that sounds really interesting in a off-putting kind of way. What is it? He said, it's these, it's socks and insoles. And I think I swore and said, just no. I'm not going to entertain the fact that socks can do those things with people. I'm just not having it at all. It's just ridiculous. The most stupid thing I've ever heard. However, John had also introduced me to a different product a few, probably months, if not years beforehand, which actually helped my breathing. So he had a bit of credibility with me anyway. And I thought, do you know what? Let's just give it a go. Let's give it a try for a few weeks and see how we get on. So after 2 weeks of getting no results whatsoever, because I was putting them on during the day, seeing nothing different and getting no results. John then rang to say, how are you getting on? Nothing really. I want money back. It just doesn't work at all. He said, well, are you sleeping with them on? John, come on, why would I sleep with socks on? It's a ridiculous suggestion. Tried sleeping with the socks on, and lo and behold, my memory, or more importantly, my recall, improved dramatically in that next few weeks. So much so that I used to get to the end of a sentence and not find the words for it. I'm really hoping it's going to keep working tonight as I'm talking, by the way. But facts and figures in crosswords and quizzes were just coming back to me again. I was also working harder than people half my age in circuit training before we had the first lockdown in March of 2020. And I found that my legs weren't stiff the next day as well. And I thought, there's something to this. And I spent the next 2 months researching more and more into it and found out that actually there's some really good science behind it, some really good efficacy behind it, and this stuff really works. One of the stories I had to share tonight was that last Friday morning I was sitting in a BNI meeting, networking meeting, and there was a chap beside me who was he wasn't that confident about standing on his feet. He had a stick beside him, and I just said to him in the margins of the meeting, I said, "David, what's the walking stick for?" He said, "I've had it for 7 years. I've got diabetic pain, I can barely balance, I've got a bit of vertigo, and all these sort of things." I said, "Well, will you wait around at the end so I can just try this technology with you, see how you get on?" So he walked up with his stick, I checked out his balance, so we checked people's balance side to side and forward and backwards, and we checked their range of motion, as John said before. So I checked him out and he wasn't in a really good state. So then I slapped a patch on him, as he calls it. He just slapped a patch on and suddenly things changed. His expression changed. He just thought there was something different in his brain, and I said, "More importantly than that, David, see if you could walk without your stick." So he held his stick up sideways and he just walked perfectly straight, and at the end of it his face lit up. He said, "I genuinely cannot believe what's happened here." And then we did the tests again with his balance, and he was much more solid. Not as solid as a rock, but much more solid than he was. And for him, the change within those few seconds and minutes just re-emphasises all the different customers I've had across the years. And that's exactly why I now, with John, try to share this technology with people every single day, because it's such an important, life-changing thing. So that's kind of my story about going from complete skeptic to now being dyed in the wool, tell everybody about it because everybody should know about it so they can make an informed choice. One of the things that people often say to me is, how does this technology work? Well, if you take an object, close your eyes, get it out your sight line, and just feel that object, you can work out what it is, because your skin is giving information to the brain. So you can quite simply just work out that actually that feels hard and long. In my memory, it's a pen. So it's using that technology to get from the skin through to the brain, and therefore the brain's signal is changing, and that's what calms down the brain stem in some cases, and then helps the different parts of the brain to perform at a much better level. So that's kind of the very basic understanding of how this technology works, through the skin, through the sensation of touch, the patterns on the patches or the socks or the insoles communicate directly with the brain through the skin, and then you have the magic effect through your body. John, you're muted.
Thank you. So what most of us find is that we reach a point where the volume of positive stories we hear outweighs our skepticism. So I think what we'd like to do now is ask some of the other people on the call to share their stories, just to help those of you on the call who've not experienced it before, just to hear some other points of view. So hi Ros, thank you for joining us this evening. Would you like to tell us one of your stories? You've got stories about about your husband, about your parents. So just select one at random and please share with us.
Hi, thanks, John. Just to cite again, John shared the information about Box with me I think it was about December 2019. As we'd worked together for quite a few years, I totally trusted John, so I knew he wasn't going to sell me a pig in a poke. And the reason he called me was because both of my parents had falls, and he just thought that maybe that would be something that I might be interested in to help my parents not to have any more falls. So I was interested, but said, yeah, okay, but I need to try them myself. And John sent me some insoles and socks, and I tried them. And my particular thing was that I'd been, I always have an awful lot to do, and some tasks seem a bit overwhelming, and I'm like, I just slot those to the side and I'll deal with them eventually. But I had a lot of tasks that like having new wheel tires on my car and various things that I'd been putting off. And what I noticed was within 20 minutes of putting the socks on initially, suddenly I just felt inclined to go and sort all these things out. And within a couple of hours, I'd managed to knock all these things off of my to-do list. And it felt really fantastic. And I was like, why have I been putting this off for so long? But something happened, and I just was able to get on with it and just do it, and it was sorted. So that was quite intriguing to me. And then I hadn't had the balance test on, but I certainly felt stronger within myself. And my husband, who's a scientist, was super skeptical, thought it was a whole load of rubbish until he saw it for himself, and then immediately decided he wanted socks too. He's also a golfer. And so he now, all the socks in his drawer are box socks. So he won't entertain the idea of wearing anything else, because he's felt the difference for himself, but not interested in patches. No, he wasn't going to go in patches, not interested whatsoever, until super stressful week last week. And I ended up opening up the new pack of stress patches, slapping one on him and said, it's on now, you just have to put it with it for 24 hours. But actually, the next day I said, so how did it go? And he's like, oh, well, I didn't actually manage to get a lot of things done. So he wouldn't say he didn't feel stressed, but he did manage to get on and do a lot of things. But those, so stress patches for a few days, and he's gone away on a golfing trip today for a few days in Wales. And a few days ago, he said, have you got any of those sleeping patches? So anyway, gave him a sleeping patch, a REM patch, and he obviously noticed a difference because he's asked for them. He's taken sleeping patches with him. And yeah, so that was very good. And today I've been voxing people and introducing other golfers to the technology. And one particular lady this afternoon, she was very, very impressed, blown away by the fact that you know, she was so much stronger on these strange insoles. So she's bought patches from me this afternoon and is putting in an order for socks for her husband. So yeah, it doesn't take a lot. I think when she stood on the insoles for a few moments and noticed the difference, you know, I've never had anybody that's not noticed the difference, and some of it's been mind-blowing in the fact of similar to Stuart. I had a lady with MS who walked with a stick, couldn't stand up really without it. She was tottering around, but the moment we got her on the insoles, a totally different story. Couldn't move her. She went home that day with socks and texted me that night to say that she'd managed to, for the first time ever, walk round to her next door neighbours without using a stick. So yeah, look, I've got umpteen stories, but the technology is amazing, and it's so simple. It's so, it may not be simple in the way that it works, but it's so simple for the way that people can use it, and it's just brilliant. I think it's brilliant. So,
Lovely.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Roz. Chris, would you like to share your either your or Caroline's or both of your stories?
Yeah, if you like. Yeah. So John came to see us. Was it a few years ago now? Wasn't it? Now it's been a while.
Yeah.
Initially, just to see whether the technology would benefit Caroline. So Caroline, my wife, has a disability called cerebral palsy. That means that for Caroline, she relies on a power chair to get around. She can't really mobilise, hasn't really got any balance as such. So without the chair, really, she's a little bit screwed. She would struggle with crutches, so the chair is kind of the way, to be honest. That said, when John first introduced us to the product, we did try it with crutches, didn't we? And you were able to do a few steps that you were less able to do previously. So there was definitely something there, but it wasn't quite enough to make that much of a difference. You'd have to be a continuous process, I guess, really, to get to where Caroline needed to be. So yeah, so it was an issue also for Caroline. Since then, Caroline hasn't had any falls at all, which is great. So she's obviously, good news, and she wouldn't without them. She really notices the difference when she transfers between a chair maybe into the toilet, or maybe the chair into bed or something similar. You can definitely see the difference in her strength in her body, and that combined with the physio that she does is really good. So it'd be nice to think that the likes of the physios would listen and see the technology for themselves, but they're all obviously they won't. They're all a bit skeptical of it already. But either way, for Caroline, it's been great. So John asked whether or not it would be any benefit to me. I couldn't really see where it would help me, really, considering that I haven't got the same challenges that Caroline faces. But I thought, what? Give it a go. What if I got? Well, what if I got to lose? I'm not a golfer or anything like that. I'm not much of a sports person, and when I tried it, the first thing which I noticed immediately was my my rotation. So I was in the car going back from an event where John had invited us to, and I immediately noticed the shoulder check in the car, in the way that I was able to kind of move my body a lot more around the car and move around and see a lot more of what's going on around me, which obviously is important when driving. And then within my work, I started to see that I was able to think more clearly and concentrate better in my work on a typical day, and get more done. I didn't get the brain fog that I used to get, and didn't get the overwhelm of everything kind of just going on around me. So there was definitely something different going on to what I was used to. With somebody who is, I wouldn't say officially diagnosed, but I probably have all the symptoms of somebody with ADHD. I thought I'd also try the armband as well, and that combined with the insoles definitely did something. But where that armband is right now, who knows? It could be somewhere around the house somewhere. Probably got in the washing machine. It's been shrunk now, Mark. Look, yeah, it should be there, John. I know it should, but either way, yeah, there's something going on in the tech anyway. I certainly felt the benefit. I could do with maybe trying it out in the gym next, I suppose. I'm doing a few mornings a week there. That's where I'm going to try it next, I suppose, to see whether or not I can do a bit more with it. The insoles have got great for my work shoes, but they're not really for trainers and such like, really. So yeah, that's my story and Caroline's story. I hope that helps. And
thank you very much indeed. Good to hear. Gamal, you mentioned earlier that you've got a new story. Would you like to share that one?
Okay, well, would you like to hear the one about which one? I got so many. Well, let me see here. Let me get my thoughts together. I had a lady who had to be, she said she was suffering a little pain, right? And the night before, she was at an event where she was doing a little dancing and a little prancing and things of that nature. So the next day I saw her and she said she was kind of having little aches and pains in her back and her wrists and everything of that nature. I said, okay, well, if you will indulge me, I've got this technology that's got a little bit of magical mystery into it. And I said, if you allow me, I'll give you a demonstration of how it will work for you. But you've got to allow me to do a balance test with you in order to allow me to show you a before and after. So she said, yeah, okay, I agree with that. So,
Gamal, I'm sorry. There's your microphone's a bit in and out. I don't know whether you've got something over it, but it's you're not. It's sounding a bit muffled from time to time.
Oh, I'm not clear. Can you hear me now? Is it better?
That's better, yeah, thank you.
Okay. Well, to make a long story short, we did the static test, forward and backward, and side to side. And so that was the before. I put the patch on and did the same tests. And so she saw the difference. And so then her eyes started to well up. And tears started falling down her face. She said, well, what is this? And I said, well, this is the technology that taps into your central nervous system, through your nerve endings on your skin, to your spine, to your brain. So your brain will start acting the way it's supposed to and stop being lazy, like a wake-up call. So she said, yeah, I feel a whole lot more stable on my feet, and the pain that I was dealing with has subsided, and get back with me because I'm going to use these products. I said, okay, I certainly will. So, top one up for the home team.
Great. Okay. Thanks very much, Kamal. Nice story. Okay. Stuart just referenced a tale I told him earlier, because I've been in a care home today, following up from a meeting at the care show last week, and the manager of the care home invited me to go down because they have a number of residents who are prone to falls, and he introduced me to his fall risk team. So it was a group of 5 or 6 nurses, and I showed them, took them through the balance tests that we've all been talking about, and they were all amazed at the difference that it made, to the degree that one of them went out of the room and came back with another young lady, and it turned out that this lady has dyspraxia, which is a condition that, in her words, makes her incredibly clumsy, always dropping things, always falling over, and just, yeah, she's a lovely girl, but she said she was just a complete disaster wherever she went. So I stood next to her to do the test, and literally I only had to touch her, and she was gone. You know, she just had no coordination at all. Yet I put the insoles down, she stood on the insoles, and she was as solid as a rock. It was absolutely amazing to see. And her eyes welled up with tears. You know, she just couldn't believe that something could make such an immediate difference. So you get these, you know, just a function. Keep talking to people, and you keep finding more people who get amazing results. D and or V, if you're there, do you have any questions you might like to ask us?
Just before that, John, if I may, so we've heard quite a few stories about people that have had the experiences and telling on behalf of other people. What we also have available to us is a testimonials page, which I'll just share with you now, if that's okay. So this Vox Live testimonials page, as you can see on there, can you see it properly, John?
Yep.
Thank you. Can never tell because I've got 2 different screens. So this testimonials page has got, as you can see on there, 55,000 members, all of whom are interested in Vox Live and or using it to some degree. But the most important thing is that people just post their testimonial stories on there. So you can see lots and lots of stories. If you scroll down, you'll see it by date. But we also have a function here where we can search for specific things. So when we're talking about, for example, dyspraxia, I just did a quick check on there, and I'm not really sure how to spell dyspraxia, and I think it's with a P, as you can probably see on there. So I had a look on there, but if you look for something like balance on there, you can just have a look, and all the stories associated with balance will then start to appear. So you can see that it talks about super patches. So super patches, so we have a number of different patches which just look, they come in a packet like this, a month's supply at a time. This is the Defend patch, which superbly worn by a model here. help the immune system to be boosted. We then have some other patches such as the sleep patch, Victory for sports people, the peace patch that we referenced before when we were talking about attention. Focus patch, this is one of my favorites. This we talked, somebody mentioned before about attention and focus. Certainly when I've been on long distance drives, the focus patch has kept me really alert the whole time, like, you know, for 4 hours solidly, all the way there, 4 hours solidly all the way back, kept my brain super focused, and I've not felt tired on the way back in. So we've got all these functions left as well to have a look at. So if you're ever wondering about whether it might help with a certain thing, you can have a look on the testimonials page, search for those specific things, and you can find out as well. Thanks, John. Now I'll let you field those questions.
Yes, thanks, Stuart. Off script again. Never mind. Dee, has that been helpful for you? Do you have any questions?
Hi, it's V. It's the V of the D&V posse.
Hello, V.
Yeah, thank you very much, everybody, for giving some really good information on your experiences. So I'm going to say, just as Stuart introduced in his session, the fact that I'm just like, yeah, and I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, okay, Stuart really, I think Stuart set the scene really well. Well done, Stuart. So I'm listening, I'm thinking, yeah, and okay. I don't know Chris at all, but the little bit of communication we had, he sounded quite sincere and genuine. And he invited me to this session. And being a typical mother, I immediately thought of my daughter. She has some problems with her knees. Never thought about myself at all, just thought about my baby. She's got some problems with her knees. And I've got all sort of excited without thinking. And I'm sort of, oh, my daughter, she was trying to drive my car and she couldn't walk properly after because of her knees. Don't know if Chris remembers me saying this to him. And I was just being a typical mum. So sitting here, I was looking forward to today, didn't know what to expect. And then I'm sitting there listening, and I'm like, yeah, and yeah, you've got to have all been there, not just Stuart. And then as you're talking, because I'm so desperate, I want to believe. Yeah, let's be honest. Let's put the cards on the table. I thought of my daughter when Chris first told me about it. But then as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking about all the different conditions that I've developed over the years. When you're talking about pushing the person, they almost fell over, and somebody else having problems with their back, and I'm like, yeah, that's me. Somebody else with their arm, yeah, that's me. Stuart said about his breathing, yeah, that's me. Sleeping, I don't have a problem with that at all, but yeah, I do, because I have to sleep with a machine at night. So I suppose that's yeah, me as well. So part of me wants to say, oh, how much is it? Where do I buy it from? But then, come on, the rest of me is like, yeah, and you've all presented testimonies today. And Jamal, with respect, I couldn't, just like what John was saying, I couldn't pick up half of what you were saying, but I managed to pick up the lady, and she was in discomfort, and I think she had tears in her eyes. And I'm like, you've all experienced it, but you've got to sell the product. So you have to say, come on, you know what I'm saying? So how can I be 100% convinced to pass my well-earned conservative held money over to you for me to be able to try this out and see some results? I'm happy to say what my medical conditions are. I've got no qualms in sharing, but I don't want to say it in case you feel bored. Do you know what I mean? I won't go into the song and dance and violin playing, but I'm happy to say. So I did write down Stuart saying, is it called Vox Life Testimonials on Facebook? I have to go into. Is that right, Stuart?
Yes, it is. So ideally, Chris will be able to put you onto that group. So this is the Vox Life Testimonials page here on the screen now. So I've just typed in knees.
That's me. Back pain, sciatica, knee pain, energy.
Yeah. So that's one. Yeah. So that's one story. You then go down to Krista, who's an absolutely amazing person, and doesn't have knee pain. She tells her story live. Trish Baxter's got stories about knee pain, and lots. And I'm just going to scroll down to show you the quantity of issues to do with knee pain. For example, And what you can do on here with the Vox Live testimonials, you can find real people. So Jennifer Pearson on there, you can click and connect with that real person, and you can ask them for their experience. What was it they tried? How long for? What was their what were they like beforehand? What were they like afterwards? As well as looking at their stories as well. And the best thing of all about Vox Life is that Jay Dallywell, who John referred to earlier, about developing this to help his mum's MS, he completely discovered by accident all the other benefits that it had. And he's so magnanimous in his support for fellow human beings that he's offering a 100% money-back guarantee for a 30-day trial period. So people should have absolutely no qualms whatsoever about giving it a try and spending that, as you so eloquently put it, your conservatively withheld money, or whichever Prime Minister is going to come through in the next few weeks. You should have no qualms that if you give it a try, the company's got your back. The people that tell you about it have got your back. We genuinely want people to try it, see how it works for them and their loved ones or their family and friends, and then give you the guarantee that actually you've got nothing to lose except for the pain, the inflammation, whatever it is you're dealing with.
Does that help, V?
Yeah. I've gone quiet. I really, like a lot of people, I do experience a lot of pain, and discomfort in my everyday life. And listening to what you guys are saying, it sounds too good to be true. But I'm so desperate. I'd like to try, but I can't afford to. So if you're telling me 100% guarantee, that would help. I'm sorry for the tears. It's just, I just feel so overwhelmed because I just, you've had enough. And just coincidentally, we went, Dee and I went to a golf introduction session a few months ago, and I struggled walking up the hills and walking down. So I was using the golf stick. Poor man loaned me his golf stick to use, and I was using it as a walking stick. Dee was a natural. He absolutely loved her. He was hoping to God that she'd come back. We haven't gone back yet because I was suffering so much. But yeah, okay. So I'll go onto the Facebook, and it's Chris, I've got to speak to you if I am looking to purchase the item.
Yeah.
It's a bit of reassurance that was 100%. And I would be more than glad to come back into this session or something like this if things, even if there's a mild change, to give me some quality of life again.